Sea Caribbean podcast. Today we are coming to you from. We will be traveling to the island of St. Kitts. But before we get there, we're leaving out of Atlanta, taking a trip to St. Kitts. It's probably about 4 hours flight. For those of you who want to visit St. Kitts, you could get to St. Kitts from out of North Carolina, American, Miami, American, New Jersey. You could connect there with United out of New Jersey, and then you could also get from New York and Miami into St. Kitts. Plus, some
Hello, everyone. This is the IC Caribbean podcast, the podcast that takes you on bi-monthly departures to the stunning Caribbean destinations. You will discover tourism industry, the best Caribbean vacation spots, popular events, and the latest offers from this part of the world. I am your host, Linky, a Caribbean native of St. Vincent and the Grenadines, an inspiring entrepreneur. I am soft-spoken with an infectious laugh that destroys the quiet with pleasure. So get ready and fasten your seatbelts to land at our next destination.
Hold on tight, everybody just moving together like a storm. United we could conquer it all. Divided and you know we go fall. Hold on tight, everybody just moving together like a storm. Divided and you know we go fall. United we could conquer it all. Everybody just moving together like a storm. United we could conquer it all. Divided and you know we go fall. Hold on tight, everybody just moving together like a storm. Divided and you know we go fall.
All right, once again, welcome to the IC Caribbean. Today's November 9th, 2023. Local time in the Eastern time zone is about a little after 2:12 Eastern, I guess 3:12 in St. Kitts. Today, like I mentioned, we're going to be traveling to St. Kitts to interview our special guest. We're coming out of Atlanta. From Atlanta, you take about 4 hours flight, but you could also connect to St. Kitts from out of Miami, out of New York, New Jersey, and North Carolina. Plus, internationally, you could get a flight out of Canada and out of the UK. So, I'd like to welcome all our Caribbean lovers to the islands of St. Kitts. Our special guest today is Janeel Boon from out of St. Kitts. He's a very special guest for today. Some stuff about Janeel. He's a very popular tour guide on the island. He have a popular radio show. I think he said he's been doing it for over 10 years, and I'm pretty sure he's one of the most popular guys there at the island. He also does chauffeur. So if you get into St. Kitts and you need a chauffeur, you need some kind of transportation, he would could hook you up with that stuff too. So Janeel does a lot of stuff. He is also a born and raised Kittitian. So let's welcome Janeel Boon to our stage, and big welcome, Janeel. And how are you today?
Hey, good afternoon to your listeners, and good afternoon to IC, and good afternoon to the world. Firstly, thanks for the opportunity to be on your stream and your platform, the opportunity to talk about my country. And I think that's the number one thing that I love to talk about, really. And also, how am I? I'm doing fine. Fairly cool today. And of course, living in the Caribbean, we're almost always hot, but fairly cool. Other than that, I heard and one person said earlier, if I'm any better, I wouldn't like it. So I'll settle with just being fine.
I like that one. I like that. All right, I give you a little brief introduction there about yourself. So, kid, you also host. He also hosts a podcast show. So he been doing podcasts for over 3 years. So he might could give us some tips on our upcoming shows from this one. So Janeel, tell us about yourself. Tell us about you.
Who is Janeel Boon? Who is Janeel Boon? 31-year old. I love to impact others in some shape or form. I always seize the opportunity to educate or to just be of value to someone. I love to explore, literally love, sometimes cautiously love to explore. And I love to explore not just adventure, but also knowledge wise. Um, I love health, if I'm to put it like that. I'm a bit more concerned on the health side most times, especially what I eat and what's not, and how I try to take care of me from a mental perspective. I'm very much careful as to what and how I do with my surroundings, and especially my mental space. Besides that, I'm a tour operator among many other things. As I mentioned, I work on a radio station for 10 years. I volunteered 3 years before. I have been doing podcasting since COVID and a few other stuff, mainly in the field of communication.
All right. What about I grew up in mansion. Give us a little childhood village where the childhood came from.
Okay, childhood for me would be Middle Island,
Uh-huh.
and that's a community just 1 mile west of Old Road. Everyone may know Old Road in St. Kitts. So we fall under the same parish of St. Thomas's, and the landmark in my community is the Sir Thomas Warner and the Samuel Jefferson's tomb. So hence the Anglican Church is a tourist landmark in my immediate community, just a few steps away. Childhood days to me is I came from a humble, or if I may say humble of humblest beginnings, and my playground was literally outside. Anything I can find that was literally natural, and try to make it something that can build my imagination. Whether it's going to the mountains, go looking mangoes and what's not on a summer day, or going to the sea, which was literally behind my home, and whether we're gonna dive or we'll just try to go on one of our friends or community members fishing boat and just explore from there. So that's pretty much childhood for me.
Wow, that's pretty good. I'm 64 and you guys still doing the same thing we was doing back then when I was back there in St. Kitts.
I,
That was
I would imagine that would be based on more countrysides. I always tell people I'm a country youth, so exploring on the outside would be more for me. My nephews and nieces and so on at this point, I move their tablet for the most part. However, ever so often you'll find them outside, especially on a summer day. The other time of the year, they may just be in their devices.
right. I could take you from Saddlers all the way to Bastille, right? But when it comes to the west side,
Mm.
I still every time I come back, I usually rent a car and try to discover the west side. Because I'm not too familiar with the Middle Island half, which Sandy
Wow.
Point and that stuff. I still have a
Bro,
little
you're missing.
right,
You are
right.
missing it. The west side would be, in my opinion, and most I think, the more popular side of the country. And we have more public bus going that way. We have more development on the coastline going that way. You have more tour sites on that side as well. Most of our tours travel that direction, actually. Um, the west side would be more of that. Middle Island is 7 miles from the capital. There was a milestone literally outside of my home. And so it's 7 miles. And if you were to go around St. Kitts, it's 30 miles. So we are extremely small.
Right.
For me, 7 miles is like 30 minutes with traffic, or it's like 10 minutes without traffic.
Nice.
And
Okay,
also the west side is the Caribbean side as well.
yeah, that's true. Again, yeah, especially Sunny Point, and the only thing we have on the east side is basically Cayenne. Once you get out of Cayenne, you're actually in the deep countryside of the island. But it
In
was
fact, now, I see Maligno is becoming a buzz.
oh, so
Maligno is
Malay
becoming more buzzy.
than Cayenne.
Yes,
Okay.
yes. In my opinion, it has surpassed Cayenne when it comes to being buzzy. And a kind of fact that we can note there as our former Prime Minister constituency included Maligno.
Oh, that's
Just
right.
a
That's
fact.
right.
You can decode everything else.
Yeah, I got you. Timothy, I think it was from Large all the way down to
Right. So
yeah.
to Taba.
Yeah, to Tama.
So that district includes his. Hence,
Yes.
that area has become more buzzy, I must say.
Okay, it's time for me to head back home then, so I could
You have to.
big up Molyneux.
Yeah.
All right. Tell me about the tour business. How did it get started? What got you excited and walk me through that step.
No, I'm a storyteller, so I'm gonna try to do it within my time restraint. I
Go ahead,
visited island, Tortola, which is British Virgin Islands, for a conference in 2015. And during that visit, the technician in me, because I'm a technician by profession.
Right.
The technician in me did all the necessary research. I downloaded the Google offline map. I queued all the various landmarks in the map where I was going to stay. I literally pinned the person home before I even get there, and all the things that I want to accomplish while I'm there. So while we were with a group of about 15 persons, for my second time being there, because my first time I was a kid, my second time being there, I was literally the tour guide on the tour, even though I am not from Tortola. So I would tell them, hey, this spot is over there, or the ferry is over there. And everyone was like, how you know all this? I prepped. And on that tour, my neighbor, literally, I had just, before I went 2015, 2012, we relocated from Middle Island to Virtual, just a little closer to Old Road. And my neighbor has a tour company for some 20 plus years. And he was on the tour with us. Not well, all along, I never really knew the neighbor like that because we just relocated to that community. And he was like, the way you handled Tortola, and how about you come back and work with me in St. Kitts and let's showcase St. Kitts like that. And it was in my early adult years. I also remember I had just fired my previous boss. It was also my early, it's always good to fire your boss at times. So I just...
I like that one.
It was in my years of which I was like, let me spread my wings more and take up that mantle of being an entrepreneur. In doing that, and he said, yes, come back and try with me. The same October when I came back, about 2 weeks or so, we went straight through the process of becoming a tour operator in St. Kitts, went through the course, knock off the course fast, joined his taxi company. And from 2015 to 2020, I worked along with him as his lead tour guide. We had about 5 to 6 other tour guides. I was the lead guy there. We literally grew that business in leaps. And then, of course, 2020 came. But 2020 is when I branched out and said, let me start do this on my own after COVID. So I entered into COVID working for that person. I exited COVID with my own vehicle, working on myself and what's not. And to date, I've been doing it.
Wow.
So that's pretty much how I jumped into it.
Yes, that's well said there. Interesting too, because I used to live in when I left St. Kitts, we went to St. Thomas. So Tortola was one of our I used to take it was a bomber charger. You take the bomber charger. It's probably the native son now, but back then it was a bomber charger. So we go from St. Thomas to St. John, Tortola, Virgin Gorda, Anegada. So I'm very familiar with the area down there. So that's good. It's interesting how you got into the tour guide. So what we're gonna do, we're gonna take a quick break here, and when we come back, we're gonna go deep inside of St. Kitts. We're gonna show off St. Kitts from your side. So let's take a quick break. We'll be right back.
Hi there, I am Janeel Boon, the owner of Jenny's Adventure.
Flying over New York, St. Kitts people can done. Florida, Canada, big up every kitty shot. When we fly over England, Europe, me up for the can done. But everybody know, ain't no place like home. Me no know about you, but me love St. Kitts bad. Me no know what them a talk about. When them say St. Kitts mad. Whenever we in the world have problems, everywhere need God. Tell them easy no man. From you love St. Kitts bad. Me no know about you, but me love St. Kitts bad. Me no know what them a talk about. When them say St. Kitts mad. Whenever we in the world have problems, everywhere need God. Tell them easy no man. From you love St. Kitts bad. Full time if you big up me own, yeah.
Hello everybody, this is Janeel and we are at the top of Mount Liamiga volcano in St. Kitts. We just like 3,000 feet.
Big up every kitty shot. When we fly over England.
All right, that was good. Did you see all the stuff that
it was good.
yes, and it's so funny that the producer is in Pakistan, so I want to big them up and let them know.
Oh,
we
nice.
need creativity from this end. So yeah, that's we got our
bucket list. So Pakistan, which means it's approximately 12, somewhere around there, 12 o'clock or so.
Yeah, it's 12:20
in the night.
Yeah, 12:26 over there. Also that too, because you know they actually like what they're doing. Powerful people, man. I really enjoy them. And yeah, it's 12:26 over there now in Pakistan time. So they are up midnight entertaining the switchboard back there for us. So I really want to give them thanks.
Nice.
And
good job.
We appreciate that. Okay, let's jump into St. Kitts now. Lots of islands in the Caribbean. Tell the fans, why should they visit St. Kitts?
Why should you visit St. Kitts? Because we are the sweetest place on earth. And being that we came from a sugar colony, I must say we no longer have sugar, but I do believe that the sweetness is in the hearts of the people. And that will be my summary as why should you visit St. Kitts. Over time, I'll probably expand that further, but my simplest answer is the sweetest place on earth.
Sweetest place on earth. Okay, is any one unique any? Well, I know you mentioned the sugar cane. Any other special unique any other special unique about St. Kitts that you want to tell you know when about St. Kitts once they get there? Any other
you
unique
mean tour sites?
Yeah, you mentioned the sugar.
Once. Right. So once you are visiting St. Kitts, I'm gonna opt to give you free of my top 3 places you need to visit. And of course, I would say top 3, but I'm gonna try to push top 4. Number 1, Brimstone Hill Fortress. And why should you visit Brimstone Hill Fortress? It is overlooking the community of Sandy Point, and the community of Sandy Point is overlooking up about 2 to 3 other Caribbean islands on a clear day. On a much clearer day, you can get up to 5 from that view. Brimstone Hill Fortress is a fortress built for the British using slave power. So every brick laid there gives you the memory, the emotions of what went on there. It literally has hospital, cemetery, and the whole works. It stands over 800 feet above sea level there, surrounded by sugarcane fields, most of which now used as agriculture fields or home developments. From Brimstone Hill Fortress, you can literally see the seabed from there as how clear the water is. Some days you can see whales and what's not, or cruise ships passing by. And number 2 would then be Timothy Hill. And Timothy Hill, you have a view of the Atlantic on one side, the Caribbean on the other side. The only way in the world you would ever see both seas in the same photo app. You don't even have to widen your camera. They are right there. From Timothy Hill, you can also see an affluent community, which is called Frigate Bay, where more of our hotels are located. Further out, you can see a marina where a few movies were done there. You have Outer Banks, And you also had below deck. They did a few shooting down there. And beyond that, you would then see a view of Nevis. Nevis, our sister island. So you will see that mountain from there. And some days you can see as far as Antigua and Barbuda from St. Kitts at that point. So number 3, Cockleshell Beach. Now, we have many beaches. Why Cockleshell? From Cockleshell Beach, you can have a view of Nevis literally right in front of you. St. Kitts and Nevis, we are 2 miles away from each other. We are the closest federation in the Caribbean. And no other federation is this close, literally 6 minutes away from St. Kitts to Nevis from that viewpoint right there. And if your eyes are that well, you would see vehicles moving on Nevis there. And fun fact, you could actually swim from Nevis to St. Kitts via that channel most of the time twice per year. So those are my top 3 things that you would do. However, if you want to get adventurous, let's go to the volcano. Definitely.
Right.
Let's go to the volcano. So that my top 4.
I noticed. I know every year they have a swimming event from St. Kitts to Nevis. Is a lot of local citizens take part in it, or most is people from overseas?
Mostly overseas persons. You don't find much locals doing it. I said on my radio program many times that I want to do it, and then instantly callers will call me and say, "You're sure?" I'm like, "Yes." But I've realized that in the Caribbean, it seems we are more hesitant when it comes to trying various risks.
Yeah.
And that's why I said in my intro, I am cautiously adventurous or risky. I'm risky adventurous. And so when I would say I wish to swim from Nevis to St. Kitts, a 2-mile channel that can take me about an hour and a half to swim, someone else will be like, when I can take a ferry. So you find more persons. It actually, you have a large amount of persons traveling to St. Kitts and Nevis for that weekend, usually for that. It happens most time during Easter. I've seen of recent times it happened also in October. So it seems as if it's now more than once per year. But as most times it happens during Easter.
So they usually start from over
in Nevis.
Oh, they start from Nevis.
Correct. Generally from Owali Beach and swim over to Reggae Beach. So that's the 2 closest points.
Is Reggae Beach close to Salpan, where the Salpan was?
Yes, it is on the production team can work on pulling up a map of the latter part of St. Kitts, and that drumstick shape, Reggae Beach is on the end of it.
Okay.
Right where you would find Cockleshell is just a segment of it that we call Reggae Beach. The official name would be Cockleshell.
Okay.
The salt pan is in the center there and it's just on the edge. So production team can cue that for you.
Okay. I'm not sure. Remember? Okay. I'm pretty sure they probably will pull that up there.
So maybe what you can do is if you are to drive the peninsula, once you drive at the exact end of it, that beach is called Cockleshell.
Okay.
On one end of Cockleshell, you have Reggae Beach. On the other end, you have Park Hyatt, which is Banana Bay.
Okay.
On that same stretch.
I've been there. I just didn't know. The name is good. I've been there, but I didn't know the name of the beach. But I know when I went.
The name is just coming on board now. Cockleshell is the more official name. Reggae Beach is just a segment of it because of the name of a bar called Reggae Beach Bar.
Okay, good. I got a tricky question here for you. How do you engage the local to help you to promote the tourists? You understand the question?
Yes. Okay. How do I engage the locals to help promote tourism?
Yes.
Particularly.
Yes.
I love to travel. So I always tell people I am the ideal tourist, thus I am the ideal tour guide. And from traveling all over, I always vlog my trips. So I have a whole YouTube channel that have my trips. I have a large amount of WhatsApp contacts and a few followers elsewhere. In sharing those islands, I do the very same for St. Kitts. When I go on a hike, I share the most picturesque parts. I share the journey. So you virtually get to go with me every step of the way. in doing that, I have seen most of the time once I share it, someone simply duplicate it. Someone screen record it, someone asks for me to send it, and they just multiply it from there. With that, I have since partnered with many schools or individual groups to then go and do the very same trip, whether it's hiking or whether it's driving in air condition. You then attract the persons because they are already a following per se. They're already a following. Because note you mentioned, I do a radio program, I do a podcast, I'm a computer technician. All of this in a small island. So people know me maybe more than I think that I want them to know me, but they don't know me. And that works for me.
So if we want to get you in the team, we have to talk about well, actually I would love to get you in the team, but I don't want you to fire me if I get you. So you like to
No, the last boss I fired was 2013. I have not fired any others yet.
Okay.
However, I don't know what can happen.
But I would love to.
No, John Maxwell says that you should work yourself out of a job. In other words, simply go to the point of which someone else can replace you and you can now take another position.
Okay.
Sometimes that other position might be in the company. Sometimes it might mean going outside the company and go elsewhere. So let's hope I won't fire you. Let's hope that.
Because what we are trying to do here at ICCaribbean.com is to actually bring the Caribbean a lot closer. And if you notice, we have.
I must commend you for that. I must commend you for that from speaking with you for the last 2 to 3 weeks.
Yeah.
I must commend you from what I've seen.
It's not easy, but that's what I plan to do. I want to connect. And again, when you speak to someone from the Caribbean, they have a story to tell. Whether you're traveling on a flight, on a bus, or on a train, a lot of people quiet and don't say anything, but everyone have a story to tell. And as soon as you tap into it, you just open that story. And that's what I'm trying to do with the Caribbean and with the tour guys. I mean, it's so amazing. I have not got the site and the tour guys up where it should be, and we're already generating revenue. There's a guy from St. Martin called me yesterday, and he had 25 people coming into St. Thomas on January the 2nd. They're coming from, I think, St. Martin. So I actually did the connection. So now they're going to have transportation and tour guide in St. Martin, and then when they leave St. Martin, they're going to have tour guides in St. Thomas. And nice. I think you mentioned you mentioned your wife is going to Grenada, and we have a Grenada connection there. So this is, again, it's going to take time. We're playing with some big players like TripAdvisor, Vayata, Tour by Local, Get Your Guys. But I have a plan. You know, like David and Goliath, you have a plan. And my plan is to spread the local. I'm going to say I'm local. I'm from the Caribbean. The team is management from the Caribbean. I'm going to push that, see where it take me.
Yeah, I do believe it will take you somewhere, though. I do believe so.
Yeah.
I have faith in your vision.
Right. Thank you, man. And so just speaking with you guys, man, sharing you guys' idea I was talking to Kimber there in Trinidad, and he was talking. I think he was on a podcast, so then he started singing, which I thought was all right. But it's so connected, and it's so much to be, tap into and explore and what have you, So it's interesting, and I'm enjoying all of it. Did you get a chance to connect your Facebook group with us along the show today?
Yes, I shared the link.
Okay, good. Because in a segment here, we're going to participate where we're going to have them ask you questions from if they are in the group or if they are in the show. So that's coming up. Mm-hmm. Okay, the final question from this segment. Do you take tourists to any local spot? Because in most of the Caribbean is once you're a tourist, the tour guide take you to the tourist places. So on your tour, do you take tourists to local spot?
Yes, I do. Yes, I do. I always prefer a local spot more than a tourist spot,
Uh-huh.
and we are permitted. So we are permitted. I would visit like when I want to have lunch with my guests. There's a place called Cooper's in Bay, and I do hope you know that place. I see. There's a place called Cooper's in Bay, Cooper's, and I'll send you the name.
Okay.
However, it's Cooper's. It's in the community of Bay, and
Uh-huh.
that's right at the foot of, pretty much in the vicinity of Kitchen Hill.
Okay.
So I go there, get some real local lunch,
Mhm.
and when I say local, it's like mommy's style of food, and that's one of the many places that I visit. I love to go to a shipwreck. I don't know definitely if it's locally owned or not, but it is stashed right in behind. It's down towards the beach, but it's stashed where you wouldn't see it if you were on the typical path.
Yeah.
You literally don't even have a proper road to get there. And just to
Oh.
show you, it's one of those places, but it kicks really nice on a Sunday.
Uh-huh.
And I love to take my guests there, and the food is nice too. And when the guests reach there, they're always a wow, like, why didn't you ever say that? But most of the time, I don't say it when I do an activity itinerary. I don't usually say it ahead of time. I would just say, hey, let's have an off path visit, and if you say yes, then sure. Ever so often, especially in my communities between Old Road to Halfway Tree, if I know one or two persons that sell local drinks, local food, I always try to swing off and visit that. There's one smoothie guy at the rainforest. I always go and get my refreshments from him than to go and bring it to someone else. Because I do believe if I can disperse the money, especially to the people in my community, we can all get wealthy together.
Yes.
Another good thing is less persons to beg you as well, because we all get wealthy together. So it works for me from all directions. It works for me.
So okay, so the food there that you just mentioned, is it better than Spratnet?
Dude, why are you getting me in this type of trouble? Spatnet owners are my neighbors, literal neighbors.
Oh yeah.
Why are you doing me this?
Hey.
I think that both of them have their own
Taste.
standing taste. One Spatnet is more barbecue, and Spatnet gives you more of a sunset vibe.
Mm-hmm.
They have a whole band and everything. Whereas the other place that I go for Coopers is generally only for lunch. Spatnet don't open during lunchtime.
Right.
So Spatnet kicks more like on a Wednesday. And when I say kick, I mean swinging. It is more in bloom on a Wednesday or a Friday or a weekend vibe. So it's always, for me, I can walk over there to Spatnet. Whereas to go to the other place, Cooper's, it would be daytime where I reserve and get my lunch there. In the Caribbean, we have a large amount of persons, in St. Kitts in particular, we have a large amount of persons that sell lunch in the containers, not necessarily own a restaurant. You just order the lunch from them and get it. So ever so often, I just do that, order it from someone I know that can cook, say, hey, what's on the menu today? Give me, and then I pass it on to the guests. I always practice to eat with the guests, though. I do believe it adds a special touch than to just purchase the lunch and them eating. I always practice to eat with the guests.
Yes, it's connect, and the more you know your customers, the better they feel, and the better they reward you by giving other incoming customers your information.
Correct.
Yes.
And as we speak about eating, I must say, for persons who want to try more, then you have like black pudding you can find on the street. And I would, for the imagination of the listeners, I would not say what black pudding is made from. You also have like goat water, which is like a sheep soup. You have like a pig snout sauce, which is like a pig soup. You have bullfoot. And those things, you'll find them generally on a weekend on this side of the street, most of the time. However, in Old Road in particular, and we're Wingfield, we are setting up a space that can facilitate more guests per se. And in doing that, you find some of these things right there in front of you. Of course, ever so often you find some sugar cane, some coconut, what do we call that, boy? Is it sugar
Sugar
cake.
Yeah, sugar cake.
So I just mentioned sugar cane, and I also need to mention sugar cake. Sugar cake is like coconut ground with sugar, and you find these things all over. So once I can source it, I would always be quick to give my guests a taste, because naturally I'm a foodie, and when I travel, I want to eat and taste. So I would want you to do the same while I'm here.
Good. We have a whole section on foodie coming up too, also. But I get you in trouble with Spratnet, and you got me in trouble with black pudding.
You can explain it. I won't.
I already getting emails. What is, in Antigua they call it rice pudding. I mean, yeah, rice.
Yes, they do. They call it rice pudding.
Right.
That's the thing about the Caribbean too, because what we may call cook up in St. Kitts, Antigua may call it seasoned rice, and Tortola will call it pilau. So every island, it may be similar, but it has a slightly different name, just like we have a slightly different accent. So it's things people must note when they are traveling. But you tell them about black pudding. Come on.
Let me take it around the world too. I used to work with a lady from the Philippines, and in the Philippines they do the sugar cake, and they do the I think they do the what we call the cornmeal. I think in Antigua they call it fungi.
Fungi, correct.
Right. So they do the same thing in the Philippines, like we do in the Caribbean. They just call it a whole different name, like they do in the Caribbean. So, but that's interesting, and I like that when you mentioned because I was in and this is what got me started. This tour was in the Bahamas, and Tyrone Wilson is the guy who got me started with this tour guide connecting and see if I could generate some money from it. And he take me to some local spot where they, even though we have our own local English. Well, we went to the Bahamas and it was local, and I really enjoy where he take me. He take me to I think they call it it's a place they have a variety of food, but they don't call it the food court. They call it I forget the name they call it, but you could get a whole mix of Caribbean food, American food, and you got your Chinese. So it's I think it's called I forget the name of it, but it's interesting to part of touring is eating. And
yes.
Going back to my guy in Trinidad too, he said when he take because Trinidad is very big, but he said when he go to south part of Trinidad, he makes sure he feed in the tour, he feed his guests, and he charge them for that fee. So he he entertained the guests also like that. So but that's interesting. Again, let's take a quick break, and we're coming up with a quiz about St. Kitts. I'm going to kind of give you some easy question that I'm pretty sure you can answer and elaborate more on some of the answers. So
let's give it a try.
We take a quick break for more Janeel tour and some of his stuff. Be right back.
You're looking at personal popularity, not everybody.
Okay, what about history? Maybe a person
history. So
most popular history person in the citizenship of Samoa.
Hold on tight, everybody just moving together like a storm. United we could conquer it all. Divided and we go fall. Hold on tight, everybody just moving together like a storm. Divided and we go fall. United we could conquer it all. everybody just moving together like a storm. United we could conquer it all. Divided then you know we go fall. Hold on tight, everybody just moving together like a storm. Divided then you know we go fall.
Okay, right back with our special guest, Janeel Boon from out of St. Kitts. Okay, we're gonna go back to some of the stuff that you just mentioned. Some quick question about St. Kitts. Let's start with the highest peak in St. Kitts. Can you hear me? Hey, Janeel, can you hear me? Seem like did you pause? Okay, we're back live. Can you hear me, Janeel? No? Let me see here.
Hold on tight, everybody just moving together like a storm. United we could conquer it all. Divided then you know we go fall. Hold on tight, everybody just moving together like a storm. Divided then you know we go fall. United we could conquer it all. Everybody just moving together like a storm. United we could conquer it all. Divided then you know we go fall. Hold on tight, everybody just moving together like a storm. Divided then you know we go fall.
All right, welcome back. Can you seem like your mic is mute there, Janeel?
Hi there, I am Janeel Boon, the owner of Jenny's Adventure.
Flying over New York, take its people can done. Florida, Canada, big up every kitty shot. When we fly over England, Europe, me up fun can done. But everybody know, ain't no place like home. Me no know about you, but me love think it's bad. Me no know what them a talk about. It's mad. Whenever we're in the world have problems, everywhere need God. Tell them easy no man. From you love think it's bad. Me don't know about you, but me love think it's bad. Me don't know what I'm a talk about. When them say think it's mad. Whenever we're in the world have problems, everywhere need God. Tell them easy no man. From you love think it's bad. Full time if you big up me own, yeah.
Hello everybody, this is Janeel and we are at the top of Mount Lyamiga volcano in St. Kitts. We just like 3,000 feet.
Big up every kitty shot. When we fly over England.
Okay, we are back. Can you hear me, Janeel? Seems like we're having a problem with the mic. Is it my mic? Check your. It seems like your mic is mute.
Check 1 2. Good. Can you hear me now?
Okay, good. There you are. I could hear you now. Your mic was mute there.
Oh,
welcome back to the
Okay.
IC Caribbean
Okay,
Show.
guys.
Today we are with Janeel Boon from St. Kitts, and we're gonna get into some trivia questions. Can you hear me clearly now, Janeel? Is it my computer? Okay, welcome back. Are we good?
Good.
Okay, good. We're gonna get into some trivia question here, which you probably could educate me with some of these. Some of these answers we're getting from Google, so they might not be correct, but it's gonna be interesting to talk about.
Cool.
So let's get with number one, the highest peak in St. Kitts. What's the name of it?
The highest peak in St. Kitts is my favorite, and that will be Mount Lyamiga, our volcano. And that's 3,792 feet above sea level. Mount Lyamiga, our volcano, 3,792 feet above sea level. It's a must do.
I just saw on the clip there where you're on top of. I was hoping, I was praying that you don't fall in the volcano. How far you was from the actually?
Literally on the edge of the volcano, on the dome of the volcano. We hike up about 3,000 feet, and if you want to go in the crater, you would hike down another 1,000 feet into it. In the crater, there's a pond, and there are sections that have fumaroles where you still see the steam and the hot water bubbling. Because it's a live volcano. It is not dormant. It is not active. So you don't need to increase your BPM and get scared. It's not an active volcano, but it's not a dormant volcano as well. So and where I stood, even from the vantage point of the camera, it looked like I was standing on a rock. It's fairly safe unless we have a high gust. Sometimes you can get storm force gusts there, but unless you have a high gust, then it's fairly safe to stand there.
Wow. So the temperature there and the temperature down Port Zante,
definitely different. It's down Port Zante, on a average day, you can get yourself anything like 85, unless it's a summer day, it goes a little over 90. On the volcano, that's Fahrenheit. On the volcano, you can get maybe about 71 on any given day there. And when the clouds come over, you might be going down to like a 68 and while you're at the top. So it's much colder at the volcano. In fact, I hiked the volcano last week, Friday, with one of my tour guides, and he was shivering. He was shivering.
Right.
Most of the time when people hike it, they have a hoodie, and with them, for me, I usually keep extra clothes because you'll be sweating on your way up, and when you get to the top, even though it feels nice to now not be that hot, the truth is you now have a drastic change in environment, so you need to pad it back up a bit. So I just switch to my second pair of clothes when I get at the top.
Okay. To get to the volcano I was also told you have to go through Phillips's, but I noticed that you mentioned there's another way. There's a better trail to get to there. Could you talk about that and compare the difference between Phillips's and the one that you use?
No, I have never hiked the volcano from Phillips's. Reason being that I live on the western side of the island. That would be the Caribbean side. Phillips's is on the Phillips's is equivalent to Old Road on the eastern side, because we just have a mountain separating both of us, and which will be Dudan Span. So one can hike to Dudan Span from Phillips's. To the volcano, I have heard of such via Tabernacle, but I've never done it from that perspective, because most the older tour guides say it is not that safe to hike from that side. So we usually hike the short end of the volcano to get to the top. And the other end of it, when we stand at that vantage point, if you look at one of the videos, you would see I'm looking off onto a higher mountain. That higher mountain is the other 700 feet at the actual peak. We don't hike the actual peak because it's very few standing space. as I mentioned, the storm force gust at the top of the volcano some days is not safe enough to go on that side of the volcano. So we usually stay on the shorter end of it. To get there, we usually get to the volcano via Newton Ground and previously via St. Paul's, but we now have a hotel there. So via Newton Ground.
Wow. Now, finally, about the Layamiga. Is there a water system? Is there a well that collect the water close to the area that provide the water for the islands?
Yes and no. So let's say yes, because Kitishan Hill Hotel, that Belmont Estate,
Right.
that hotel that was recently constructed, do have some pipelines in and around the volcano. So while you are hiking, you will see some of these pipelines. So I presume that they do collect some of the water there, because it's almost always moist. So therefore, you would have some of that. And note well, unlike Dudan Span, and Dudan Span is a natural spring. It's an extinct volcano, and therefore the top of that crater is now a natural spring, which provides 80% of the country's water in the vicinity of Old Road / Phillips's, that mountain that stands right between both of those villages. That's half of the country. Now, Layamiga is on the northern end, and you would find that water, but you may be more of a rainwater, but it's not necessarily a catchment per se. If so, it would be more of a private one via Belmont Estate, better known as Kitishan Hill.
Got you. Now, to maintain the water system there, I was taught back in the day there was birds trained to clean the water when leaves go into the water. There's bird trained to pick the leaf and take them out. Can you speak to that?
Once again, towards Layamiga, I have never seen an actual water catchment there at Layamiga. I have seen a catchment area there at Kitishan Hill, which is also at the foot of the volcano from another vantage point. Right. I have also seen pipes from the volcano, presumably towards Kitishan Hill. So I do believe definitely not birds, but I've also heard of that bird theory as well with regards to cleaning some of those birds / fishes, right, for water cleaning catchment purposes. In St. Kitts, I don't think we practice that. It's pretty much human that do the procurement and cleaning of these water catchment. In the old vicinities where most of the water is catch, the others are well waters across the island. But Old is another spring point water, and that's where I would hike ever so often, more on an educational purpose to see the vicinity of the catchment area. And that would be Wingfield Rainforest.
Okay, got you. Well said. Now, this next question I got. What the biggest event in St. Kitts that attract the most people, local and international?
The biggest event in St. Kitts that attract the most people, I would say Carnival. Carnival happens in December, usually from the second week of December to like the second day or so of January. So it's most of the time it's like a month, 3 weeks to a month of celebration. And Carnival is literally everything you can think of when it comes to the context of Carnival. And they hit the streets, and some of those persons don't sleep until the New Year. And they go. And so I would say Carnival would be the biggest event of the year in St. Kitts. Now, Carnival at that point in time is merged with Christmas. So you may find a Christmas concert, many Christmas concerts happening, whether it's via church or the state. And you also note that we have our peak season in December into January. So you'll find cases where, especially, I saw one of the videos that you had there, where the streets, you saw the streets, like we started in the morning with 2-3 ships, and in the afternoon, everyone was on the road. And that's literally how it goes during those Carnival days. And it's pretty much gyrating till the new year. Subsequent to Carnival, you also have Music Festival, which happens in June. It's usually the last weekend in June, roughly the 25th to the 27th. Most of the time, it's usually the last weekend in June. Now, Music Festival generates a large amount of persons as well, but argumentably, I still think Carnival generates the most. And Carnival is soca music for the most part, and plus cruise ships and persons that come home for music fest, for Christmas, while music festival is more of a jazz show. And when I say jazz show, I'm putting in the context of it has 3 nights. One night maybe soca, one night maybe reggae/jazz, another night maybe love or something of that sort. And that's the difference in the two of them. We do have many other community events, but to your answer, Carnival and Music Fest.
Well, and Google, which said what you said is music is Sugar Mass, which is the carnival, the annual
Yes,
carnival.
and that's the official name of Carnival, Sugar Mass.
Right.
Correct.
But music, Bing, some of the search engine have Music Fest as their number 1 event in St. Kitts, but Google, Google, which is the king, said that is Sugar Mass. So we're gonna see.
Argumentatively, one may say Music Fest, but from a tour guide perspective, I would say Carnival. Reason being that most of Carnival, as I say, is merged right between Christmas and tourism cruise season.
Right.
So you have the typical person that is just coming home for Christmas, who's running away from the snow, or just missed a family member. You have the cruise person, and you have the person that intentionally came for Carnival as your end of the year. Those 3 persons are merged together. While Music Festival, you have persons who solely came for Music Festival, because there isn't anything else happening unless it's a fringe event for Music Fest. So flight increase and everything all comes in during the Carnival time. In fact, and we are about a month and a week away, and flights, bookings, and everything are already increasing for that time of the year versus for Music Fest.
Correct. And to give you my little 2 cents, Christmas is like for a whole month. You could talk about a month of event, and Music Fest is just 3 or 4 days. Correct. And like you mentioned with Carnival, you have Christmas. Matter of fact, a couple of years ago, this lady from Trinidad wanted to experience a different place than Atlanta, and I recommend St. Kitts, and she asked me why. I said, well, you have Christmas, you have Carnival, and you have a whole month of events.
Correct.
I think she got that. I believe she did visit St. Kitts based on my, like you just mentioned. So I think Google got it correct, because it's longer, and the preparation even start before and after. So the revenues coming in from Sugar Mass is way outnumber the music festival. So I give you an A+ for that one.
Thank you, teacher.
Okay, last week we was in Nevis, and we was talking about the St. Kitts and Nevis citizenship program, which I know is very controversial and a lot of information there. But Michael he gave us an explanation. So I'd like you to give me your input and citizen by investment program in St. Kitts and Nevis.
What aspect of CBI do you want me to speak on?
Well, let's say, let's say someone from Brooklyn want to become a citizen in St. Kitts.
Okay, so
take it from there.
Initiation program.
Yes.
Okay, so to my knowledge of CBI, and the initiation would be one can become a citizen. Example, whether birth, marriage, descent. In this case, via investment.
Right.
And you would either purchase said, whether you're gonna create a development or you're gonna have a one-time payment
towards our contribution towards getting said passport. It's usually some really high figures. I don't know the exact figures, so I would try not to quote any. And you create that amount as a minimum towards your investment, and then you're qualified to get citizenship in St. Kitts via investment. And in that case, it would be in most times a passport. And our passport, as of last week, we can visit 155 countries in the world visa free. And so for some 197 also 95, 97, 155 is a lot, and that you can travel visa free. So most of the time you tend to, based on the information provided, you tend to find persons who maybe come from Iran or maybe Russia, other places where they may not have easily gotten another lucrative passport, now come and get ours so they can have that said access to other places. I have had 2 guests this year that have a St. Kitts passport, and one of them lives St. Kitts actually. You don't really find this happening most of the time. They get the passport and they may never even visit. But one of them lives St. Kitts, even though she is French descent. And as she says, she stays in St. Kitts during the winter time of the year. And most people do that. They stay in St. Kitts during the winter time and they go back home during the rest of the year. And she indicated to me that though she have a St. Kitts passport, she have only ever used it once. And she have it for 30 years. And she renew it every 10 years. So I asked her, why do you still have a St. Kitts passport? She just feel the difference in having St. Kitts as her citizenship more than having France, even though she's actually from France. So you have those unique cases of it. And of course, you have the other cases of persons that just want to travel somewhere and they couldn't get in the country because of their passport restrictions and what's not. For example, Jamaica. Jamaica is in the Caribbean, but to get to most other Caribbean islands, Jamaica requires a visa to get to it. Even St. Kitts, they require a visa to come to us. And one may argue and go down a whole controversial road on it. And the alternative would be to get another passport somewhere else. And that's the case that happens here for CBI. That's the perspective of CBI that I want to touch.
Okay, I think you did a good job. I was there in a couple of years ago in Ireland Revenues, the tax place, and I was in the line. I was thinking I was renewing a business name I had there, and I looked in the line, and there was most of the people in the line was people from Iran and people from India. And I, which was very interesting to me. And then I went down to Port Santi, and most of the souvenir shops was either Pakistani or Indian.
Correct.
And you ask certain questions, and they don't even know some of the questions that you may want to ask about St. Kitts. And then for you guys, the taxi or the tour guys, I think you guys have to take a class on the history of St. Kitts, correct?
Yes. For the initiation of becoming a tour guide, you have to do a course that generally, for me, at that time, it was about 2 weeks. And do a course and do exam and what's not. Do both practical and theoretical aspects of the course to then be able to qualify. Note well, there is also a wait list to get on to become a taxi driver. There's a wait list as well, and it's a rigorous procedure to get in. And the good thing is, once you are in for life, unless you do something that is silly and that makes you lose the opportunity or be suspended or banned, blacklist. Down Port Zante or cruise port, you find a large amount of Indians and a few other ethnic groups that are owning stores down there. Unfortunately, it's a trend that is happening across the Caribbean, where you are seeing Indians in particular coming to own stuff, or you are now seeing Chinese coming in, and those two ethnic groups are seeking their way, trying to pretty much take the wealth or build their wealth on our soil as much as they can. But I always encourage persons, don't let that stop you from being a tour guide. Don't let that stop you from being anything at all. Not because you see more Indians around you or more Chinese. Not because they become the lenders most of the time means you should become their borrowers or you should just crawl into a shell. You can still own your place here. Whether or not they have a citizenship via investment, whether or not they paid a great sum, a 6-figure for a passport. You can pay the same 3-figure for that same passport, and you still have the same level of benefits and our privilege as them. So why should we stay here and hot our head about them when we could level up as much as we can, if we can?
Well said. Well, in the next probably 10, 15 years, when I become the Prime Minister of St. Kitts and Nevis, I'm going to make sure that those people, those souvenir owner imposante, they're going to have to go through the same program that the taxi guy and you guys go through. I think it's only fair.
That would be nice. I don't know the procedure of which they go through.
I don't go through none as far as I from my little knowledge of it. They just
so that would be nice though to balance the scale. It'd be nice to balance the scale, but unfortunately, and sometimes money can make some people's process easier.
That's true. All right, one final question before we take a quick break. And this one is I'm from St. Kitts, and I just realized this a couple of days ago. The national symbol or the national bird. I just reached. I always thought was the monkey. So help us with the national.
Why? You thought our national animal was the monkey?
I completely thought.
Whoa!
I completely thought the national symbol. You know, like
no,
like,
it's not. It's not. The monkey. However, though, for the listeners and viewers' sake, we have argumentatively some 30,000 monkeys here on St. Kitts. We have a population of some 35,000 persons on St. Kitts. All the monkeys do a monkey around, really. And that's, however, though they were brought here as pets, they are now pests, and they are affecting our agriculture and what's not. So though it's a sight to see for the tourists, it's a problem that we have to experience or balance out to some extent. And they started spearing some of them to reduce the amount or to reduce the ability to reproduce.
Right.
But their problem is not necessarily their genitals. Their problem is their mouth, because the monkeys eat everything, and they literally will take your beers or what's not. And if they get the chance, they'll probably take your partners. So you want to be careful with that. However, the monkey is not our national animal. The brown pelican, the brown pelican is. Though you would see monkeys more than brown pelican, please note they are not. they're actually not indigenous to St. Kitts and Nevis. They were brought here. You would find the brown pelicans more down at the ferry terminal, down by the farmers market, where we have fisher folks there. And you tend to see where people set up their fishes, and wherever the fishes are, you find the brown pelicans just letting their beauty be seen there. So it's to me it's like the giraffe. It's one of those animals that gives you that wow every time you see it. That's what the brown pelican does. So that's our national bird, the brown pelican. Don't tell anyone else what you heard. Tell me a while ago, please.
Well,
thank you.
We're international TV here, so I really appreciate you correcting me on this one, because I over all these years I thought that the monkey was the national symbol of our St. Kitts and Nevis.
I would tell you though, if you plan to vie for prime ministership, do not say that on your campaign trail. Do not. You would definitely lose points unless it's the monkeys voting for you. You definitely lose points.
No, I'm not the politician guy, but if I was to run for politics and I don't get 75% of the voters, I don't think I'll participate. I mean, I got to get the complete mandate majority, 75%. Okay, back to the
That's a whole different podcast by itself.
Yeah, I know. That's why I kind of back away from it. I'm gonna go back into our back to the monkey. On the peninsula, I was driving over there, and I think the monkey realized the power that they have. Is there a crosswalk for monkey in any part of St. Kitts?
No, we don't. We do not have any crosswalk for monkeys. We don't have a crosswalk for any animals actually.
Okay.
However, though, there was a photo that I once saw, and the person in studio with me is laughing after your question, maybe. I once saw a photo of some yard fowls, you would call them jungle birds, and you see them in Bastia walking on the crossing. I just saw the locals walking in the street. So the fowls walk on the crossing, the locals walk in the street most of the time. But no, on a serious note, no, we don't. You monkeys seize the opportunity to cross the road every time they get the chance. Very rarely they ever get knocked down, but the monkeys do that. And while we're on the peninsula, you also have some deers. We have a few deers here in St. Kitts. It is a rare sighting that you will ever see, and not much person, especially the younger folks, get the chance to see that. We always heard our grandparents say that there was something in the bush when they were doing sugarcane. But now you see them ever so often. It's generally in the evening time or in the night time, unless for some reason they come out in the daytime. Back on the monkey point, fun fact, monkey is a delicacy here in St. Kitts and Nevis. I think on that note, you can take a break and leave the cliffhanger right there.
Well, before we're gonna take a break in a minute here, but let's take monkey to another island. You know, I said Martin, in the Dutch side, in the city, they have a monkey population too, and they're messing with the tourists. And I think the prime minister there, one of the big officials, said he just want to kill them all.
Yes, about a year ago, St. Martin passed a ruling to give them a 55,000 US budget per year, up to 3 years, to extinct all the monkeys in St. Martin. So those guys have 55,000 times 3 and $165,000 available to just get rid of monkeys. And that's what they are doing over there in St. Martin. In St. Kitts and Nevis, we are not seeking to extinct the monkeys. We are seeking to find ways of which we can reduce the amount, but not to extinct them, because they have become we have gotten agitatively comfortable with them. They have now become your siblings that you just don't get to see eye to eye. You love them, you hate them, you love them, you hate them. And you see them ever so often around, especially because we have offshore universities here in St. Kitts. The university students, they love to see the monkeys. You'll find that happening. The tourists love it. So it's a case where, should you extinct them? What's the economical impact of that? Versus, should you leave them? And the other question is, what's the economical impact, especially in the farming industry, on that? Because we are a lush country, but most of our farm products are hindered by monkeys. So we started put electric fence, you name it. You find that.
Wow. I mean, I think the monkey have an environment. I think every living animal or every living being or plants, if you are living, you're doing something to the environment, and to eliminate all the monkeys from one places, I think it could be detrimental with the, because sometimes we don't know the effect of some of these animals that we participate, that we live among, So, but the final note here with the monkey too, back to the the South Peninsula. I was over there and I rent a car, and the monkey was crossing the street, and both sides of the car stopped. You have tour guys, bus van, and it seemed like the monkey know they have certain privilege or advantage. So when we stop, they start walking slower. And I noticed
you always find that you find that happen a lot. For some weird reason, it's like you would think that they may have picked up speed because you slow down. No, they have a weird sense of humor. They have a weird sense of humor.
Yeah, and up here in the state too, when the school bus stop, they extend the stop sign. You gotta stop both traffic. If it's not a divided highway, you gotta stop. And when you stop, the kids get off the bus and they walk slower. Say monkey see, monkey do, huh?
I guess so. I guess so.
All right, let's take a quick break and I'll be right back with more with our special guest out of St. Kitts. Quick break. Be right back.
Flying over New York, St. Kitts people can done. Florida, Canada, big up every kitty shine. When we fly over England, Europe, play.
At this time. Now, if you're looking at personal popularity, not everybody.
Okay, what about history? Maybe a person
History. So,
yeah, most popular history person with the citizenship of Davis.
When your class that?
Okay, back with our guest, Janeel out of St. Kitts. This is the section that we're gonna invite the guests in case they have any questions. So you might see some questions posed along, so you could entertain them while we get into this segment. But this segment is about basically the ecosystem. Question number one: what challenge and opportunity do you see for tourism in St. Kitts and the Caribbean in the future?
Challenge. I see about 2 or 3 major challenges. One, we are heavily dependent on tourism.
Right.
And given that we moved away from sugar in 2015, from sugar in 2005.
Right.
We moved away from sugar then, and since then we have become heavily dependent on tourism. COVID showed us a perfect example that we can't depend on tourism solely, especially cruise tourism. Let me put it like that, because there are some other Caribbean islands such as St. Bart's and Anguilla. They are not that dependent on cruise tourism, and they have more of a stay-over tourism plan. So that for sure is a fragile case here in St. Kitts, and I think it's definitely something that we need to look into. Another case would be our farming industry, and therefore food. And we have been experiencing a drought for the most part of this year, and we did not receive much hurricanes. And normally hurricanes give us more rain, and we did not receive much of such. However, that has affected our water collection. Therefore, by extension, of course, it would affect the farmers. Monkeys and so on also affect farmers. Those will be 2 of my personal effects and ways of which can affect us. What are some opportunities that I've seen here? We are surrounded by waters. And given that we are surrounded by waters, our imagination should be limitless when it comes to the waters. Whether it's scuba diving, we have the great Christina, which is still out that sea, that can become a museum or something of that sort around the water, and you have can become that said aquarium, and you have we can have more water activities that takes place, and especially because we are so close to Nevis. So much opportunities that can happen on the water perspective. Our green life, St. Kitts and Nevis, we are 2 mountains that literally, when rain comes, the water just flow from the hill straight to the sea. So we really ever flood. Our green life, we are lush, hence the meaning of the word Liamiga, given to us by the Kolinagos. And I think we can maximize on our green life more, whether we have more campsites, whether we have more farm to table, or whether we have more experience of that type of life. I think those are some ideal ways of maximizing. And my last one is human resource. And human resource, I think, and we as a people have to understand that we are stronger than any machine you can think of. And if we start leveraging that level of human resource, we can become great like Dubai and all them other places over there that are leveraging their human resource. And I do think that will be one of my biggest pointers. I'm going to stop because I almost sound as if I'm on a campaign trail, but I'm going to put it there and hand it back to you.
No, I mean, you sound pretty good coming out of St. Kitts. And like I said, our audience is all over the place, especially in the US. That's where we get most of our visitors to our website. So it's very educational. But you're right. You touch on some point there, especially with the human talent. I mean, people need to explore whatever God-given talents they have. Some people are good cooks, some people are good drivers, some people are good singers, some people are good teachers. So if each and everyone in St. Kitts and throughout the Caribbean fulfill use their talent and go after whatever the God-given talent is, I think the Caribbean could be a whole better place and would not have to depend on tourism like it is right now. So you touched on some very solid point there. Michael in Nevis was mentioning the same thing. He's about to get into a bunch of sport vehicles and sport equipment.
Right.
Now Nevis is such a small place, and he have like 20-something different tours, if I'm not mistaken. So back to you, what you just said, he is doing his part, and we all should. If we all do our part, Western Union and PayPal, all those money that get sent out to St. Kitts, they will stay in St. Kitts, and the investment will float around to the community instead of just boom, hit out. Which that's a whole nother topic there, because there's a lot of stuff I don't like that's happening there, and that's another reason why I'm doing what I'm doing, to educate, especially the younger folks. And some of the stuff, like you said, when I was growing up, we had the 4-H clubs, and we used to plant our own food. We used to play our own games, and we was more active in the community. And, that thing is just disappearing. Like you said, COVID showed them that you need to grow your own provision, or your own fruits. You cannot wait to have it, shipped in, All right, now you got me sound like a politician. Okay.
I guess it's rubbing off.
Let's move on to the next question.
We should be tourism ambassadors, not politicians.
Okay, ecotourism. Is there anything that you are doing, your co-workers, people in the tour, tour guys are doing to in advance and promote tourism? Also, are there any government initiative that you know of have been done to prolong and improve the tourism market?
Your question has two parts, from what I heard.
3 parts.
The ecotourism, that's one, to list it. 2, is there anything that I am doing to play my part? And 3, is there anything the government is doing? That's the 3 parts?
Yes.
Okay, so 1, ecotourism, I've mentioned hiking a lot throughout the whole entire presentation. I do all type of tours, but I love hiking the most. For my mental sake and whatnot. I love that, fitness and mental. So we tend to have a few of those aspects of the green path or the green tours that would be inland. We have a few that we branch out in the blue tours that would be in the beach. But for the most part, on the eco side, it's not as big or advertised as much as the others, but we seek to get the word out. And that's why I mentioned also earlier the misconception of the volcano being active versus dormant or live. Because then ever so often people shy away from those facts. Or we think that the monkeys are harmful, so they shy away from going to the mountains and what's not. Whereas they are not. And so we do have that eco side though. You can find whether it's ATV, whether there is a place that I see recently doing some campsites in Phillips's, since you mentioned that. So I'll be happy to send you their name off live, so you can give them a try out. There are persons that know recently opened their farms. Ever so often on a Sunday, persons go from their farms and they operate as though it's an orchard. So it gives it that experience. But we have a long way to go when it comes to that. And what am I doing personally? I love to do local tours. And of course, though I target the hotel and the cruise passengers, I also understand that the local man is a tourist as well. So ever so often I do that. I make my tours available for the local man, especially the eco side of it, because I love geography. And in fact, I have to run to a geography class right after this. I love geography. And in doing such, it gives me an opportunity to let people know about nature. Nature, our country, how we were farmed and what's not. So every opportunity to do that, I do it. I carry my nephews and a few others on my hikes to just shadow me and see what's going on there as well. What the country, the government or the tourism is doing, they have a tourism authority, and they are responsible for the marketing and the educating the public, soliciting the public to come and try those aspects of the country. From an eco side, I honestly haven't seen much more than that. But from the other sides of the country, you'll find that happening. We can and we should do better, but for now, we just don't. So I guess individually as tour guides, we have to play our part, whether it's farm to table, whether it's hike, whether it's camping or whatever. We play our part and hope that the various authorities, the various persons who sits at the table would follow along from the eco side of things.
Good. You know, when I was a kid back then, St. Kitts, it's so funny that they call it hiking now. But we were living in Mansion Village, and the mountain was maybe about a half a mile or maybe 3/4 of a, well, maybe about. I mean, you have to go way up into the mountain, and I had to do that on a regular basis. But now you call it hiking. But when I back then.
That for you, that was just walking, doing some work.
I used to hate that stuff because my dad used to cut the sugar cane, and that was not enough. So we used to go our own, provision and look after pigs and go to help supplement his money. And we used to have to go up there sometime every day or every other twice a week. Okay, he used to have cattle. We used to have to go provide move the cattle and what have you, and look after the provision. And I used to hate that thing, but no, matter of fact, I mentioned to one of my daughters, I have 3 daughters, and there's one I would love to take back there and just go up into the mountain where we used to go, just so she could experience. But then I'm going to call it hiking. I said, let's go for a hike.
You also run the risk of shattering your relationship, because she would be like, Dad, I'm not going back there. I always tell people, don't hike for love, as in don't hike because you love the person that you're hiking with. Hike because you love to hike, or hike because you want to hike. However, though, I must mention that back then you find whether it's hopping the sugarcane tractor or hopping the chain, whether it's going further in the fields to get some sugarcane, or going to the point of me being from Middle Island, where we went to get mangoes. And as I said, coming from humble beginnings, looking for mangoes allowed me to pay for some of my school-related fees. And whether it's to get certain things, some certain uniforms, or a few other things, because there's only so much the government can do. So you wanted to get your lunch and whatever. Selling mangoes helped me with that. And it meant going to the mountain with a bucket and putting mangoes on my head and coming down like Granny. It meant doing that, then so be it. And now it's something that I can now go back and take you to the mountain and show you 1 or 2 places that I may have been. Most of it, I don't hike the vicinities that I was. However, the other hike trails that are distinct, I do that. I just remembered a point. We have official park rangers, and park rangers in St. Kitts are not park rangers in the US. They are just pretty much persons responsible for maintaining various trails and what's not. So we have those. And another thing that I just remembered from an eco side of things, and if I can get a little controversial, the present government is fascinated about marijuana. So cannabis, whatever term that one wishes to use.
Yeah.
So that in the near future may become an eco tour or an eco attraction for persons. For now, it is on a policy level, and it's more on an individual level. Persons are allowed to go up to 5 trees in their yard space. But it's becoming more of a thing, and maybe one day you may visit St. Kitts instead of Amsterdam to pull a joint or what's not. Someone would. I might be able to connect to the necessary person. But nonetheless, though, that's something that I see can likely will happen from an eco perspective in the near future once they do follow through. Just a note.
Peter Tosh say some 40-something years ago, legalize it. And
at the moment, it's not legalized. It's
not
decriminalized, and that's a whole different sense of it. However, though, you give it time, the persons who may want to travel for that purpose, whether it's medical or recreational, you may just be able to find that in or around St. Kitts and Nevis, if the present government follows through their desire.
I think it's going to come true because I think it's in Colorado, they are making so much money off of this cannabis, marijuana. They make candies, they make cigarette, they make a bunch of eatable stuff from the marijuana. And they're making so much money now because, on the federal level, it's still illegal. But in the state of Colorado, you could basically grow it. You could do it for medical, for recreation. And now they are generating so much money that they don't even know what to do with the money because most of them is cash transaction. And some of the owners, when they go to the bank to deposit all this money, they have an issue because you have to say what the money is generated from. And the bank is restricted by the federal government. So that's
right. So that's why I mentioned that on a policy level, all of that is trying to work out. I know the government put some commissions in place for that, but there's a lot to be worked out. As I say, from bank, because most of our banks have a bank forwarder and that they have to consider, and you have all of those things still to put in place. Even from a tour perspective, we are still encouraged not to take guests towards marijuana and what's not, or any other drug per se, for lack of better words, because there are still not proper systems fully in place to cushion you. So you are still in a very shallow waters at the moment that can get drastically deep in a flash.
Gotcha.
So that's what's going on now. But as I say, from an eco perspective, it is and likely will become something that the traveling public might be able to look into in the future because it is a fascination of the present government. So if they do follow through, then it might be something to look forward to.
Are there any other Caribbean islands you know of already legalized it?
I don't know of any that have legalized, but most of the islands that have decriminalized.
Okay.
Decriminalize pretty much means to soften the law that comes with it and allow you to have more milligrams of it and be able to smoke it around and what's not, versus legalizing, completely expunging and so on. And I don't think I know off the tip of my head any that have reached to that stage, not even Jamaica. Right. Most of them are in the decriminalizing stage, working their way upwards.
Yeah,
it would take up our entire talk to build that conversation even further, and as the possibilities and what's not of it.
I think it's.
I see you have another question in the chat.
Yeah, I noticed someone put their people. They're asking here if people eat monkey. If people eat monkey and call it tree mutton.
Yes, tree mutton is the name, the menu name for monkey.
Oh,
so tree mutton. So when you find mutton for goat, you find tree mutton for monkey.
So you're saying you could get on a menu in tickets and they put tree mutton, but it's actually monkey?
I said exactly that. Yes. What that's what I tried to tell you earlier. It's a delicacy. No, I personally have never tried it. Maybe one of these days. However, it is a delicacy here, and tree mutton. No, because we have so many monkeys, you need to find ways of dealing with them. So you'll find it is actually a menu item for some places.
Some places.
You don't find it in any tourist places at the moment yet, because it's still something you have to fine tune and make sure you go through the necessary procedures and so on. But for now, it's one of those off menu items that you can find, especially if you're going to the countrysides.
Well,
I see some. You're amazed.
Yeah, because I'm from Manchester and I never eat it, but there's a guy in Taba where he used to go and kill the monkey and then people used to go and buy it and cook it, but I never get a chance to eat it, which I still want to try it. But I was not aware that they call it the tree mutton.
Yes, that's the menu name for sure.
Wow.
I see you have a question in the chat that says, what is the capital of St. Kitts? I can answer it for the person. The capital of St. Kitts is Bastille, and Bastille, which is French, which means lowland. And you would find another Caribbean island has the same name, which is Basse-Terre, and which is Guadeloupe. However, because we have French influence, that's why we have that name, Bastille, which means lowland. That's a French capital. So to answer that question.
Wow. I was never aware what they call it. And you know, a lot of people will
you are still on the monkey.
Oh man, I'm learning so much from you, man. I know the people eat monkey in St. Kitts, and when I mention it, people laugh. But now that you said, instead of saying monkey meat, you could just say tree mutton, and they think they're eating mutton, but it's actually monkey. How would that go over if you got a tourist and you give them the tree mutton, and then when they finish, you say monkey meat? How do you think that would go?
How do I answer that? I personally will not offer it to a tourist because I have never eaten it.
Right.
So, as I said earlier, I practice to eat with a tourist. So if I'm going to give you something to eat, I'm going to eat it with you.
Yes.
Because there are some persons that's skeptical. So because I have never eaten it, it would not be something that I would offer. However, if a guest come to St. Kitts and ask about it, I would direct you to where you can get it because you were the one that solicited it.
Yes.
But it would not become something that I initiate.
I got you.
Because maybe by the time you come, I may already experience it. But until then, at this present moment, it's not something that I engage in.
Well, trust me, I'm coming. And when I do come, I want to taste that monkey meat because it's something that I always wanted to from a child. I left St. Kitts when I was, I think, 12, 13. And I always go back and try to get it. But I could never, I thought there was, actually doing away with it.
Oh, no. It is something that we are encouraging more. Recently, we have had a few farm days and farm events, and we have various events where we may feature sorrel or feature other meats, rabbits and whatnot. And monkey and all those meats become highlights, become featured for each respective farm market or farm day, whether it's a fish or those respective grown animals. So, but if we were to talk about food more in the Caribbean, you'll be fascinated by what some other countries eat. You have some countries that eat frog, some countries eat crab, some eat iguana. The list goes on, and you'll be fascinated.
Yes. You mentioned about you selling the mangoes to help you with the school. I could relate to that because I used to sell bananas to help me with clothes and other stuff. So I could relate to what you just said there with in St. Thomas, I hope I don't get in trouble, but in the Dominica population eat a lot of iguana, and iguana is a healthy animal. They eat, they eat leaves, they eat green stuff. you know. So let me ask you this question: with this monkey conversation, you think that's going to increase tourists to St. Kitts, or it's going to decrease tourists in this?
It would be one of those conversations that have that level of controversy. If we go back to like marijuana or we go to politics, one of those conversations that would have that. I must say though, we have some 30,000+ monkeys. It won't hurt you eating one or two. It won't hurt you doing that. If we don't, they're gonna eat our farm produce. So we need ways of reducing that population. It won't hurt. However, though, we do understand that some people want them as attraction, so we just separate them from it. And because you have other persons that have rabbits as a pet, but you also have persons that have rabbit as their meat. Same as chicken. Some persons may have yard fowls or jungle fowls, as one may call them, as their pet. Someone else would have them as a meat. We cattle, pig, the list goes on. So it has that level of fortunately, we don't go extreme of eating cats, dogs, and all those things. We do not.
Yes,
and I do hope we do not ever go down that road. But for that, you find, as I say, it's also still in its early stage. It is also still in its early stage. So therefore, to think about it too hard at this stage may not be necessary.
Okay, let me get two more questions before we take a quick break. I mean, I'm so excited. I'm learning so much stuff. Maybe they should take all the monkeys and put them in, like in the Bahamas. They have all these, what is it, have 700 islands.
Right, but on the flip side, because we are learning so much about the Caribbean, we as the Bahamas has so many, that archipelago has a large amount of islands.
Right,
St. Kitts and Nevis is not considered an archipelago, because you have archipelagos such like the BVI, such like the Grenadines, such like Bahamas, and those archipelagos, they can safely move animals from one island and put them over in another.
Right.
In St. Kitts and Nevis, we cannot do that because we are two islands, St. Kitts and Nevis. We have a very small rock in between the two of us that we call Booby Island, but that's about it really. We, unlike Antigua and Barbuda, there is a rock in between them called, actually that rock is closer to Montserrat than Antigua, and that rock is called Redonda, and that rock has since become a bird sanctuary. Redonda, so your listening public can check that out. However, Redonda is a part of Antigua's federation, not St. Kitts and Nevis. So we cannot necessarily move the monkeys from the mainland and put it on a smaller island because we do not have a smaller island.
Yeah,
that is a part of our federation.
Correct. I'm saying with Ralph down there in the Grenadines in St. Vincent, we could send some down there to him. Say, look, all these islands you got open. We're gonna send we go up to the Bahamas, and I talk with Tyrone. Say, Tyrone, we need to get some of these monkeys. And St. Martin could join along too. Send a couple hundred.
But why send to St. Martin if St. Martin is also trying to get rid of them?
Oh, we're gonna pick up some from St. Martin too, and send them to the Bahamas and down to the Grenadines.
I see your next business venture.
What's that?
Your next business venture will be to migrate monkeys.
No, I'm just look. I realized now that we have Facebook, so and then I'm so connected with all these islands. I could see the emails them coming in from Anguilla and from the Bahamas. That it's gonna be interesting. You see, somebody just said they know it's a monkey fan. So.
Definitely, once you visit the island, you will definitely become a monkey fan. And I do hope that, because you are likely to see monkeys at the Port Zante with someone maybe have it in a diaper, so you can pet it or what's not. Or once you do come on a nature trail, you are likely going to see a monkey in a tree somewhere watching you, and he's just wondering what you're up to, and he's just there. Every time I go volcano, the monkeys are right around us, just there. Now, unlike Barbados, I've been to Barbados, and when I go in the inland, the monkeys are also just running around right there because Barbados still have sugarcane. And for that, the monkeys do not affect them much in the food aspect of things because they have sugarcane to play with. For us, we don't have sugarcane still. So you have that. For the monkey fans, the monkeys that we have here are called vervet monkeys. They were once referred to as green vervet monkeys, but we do believe that they mutate to a certain extent. So they don't usually say green vervet. Most of the time, they just say vervet.
Okay, well, again, if I mean, see, this got more monkeys than people. If you want to see monkeys,
argumentatively, yes.
if you want to see monkeys, just go up in Boardwalk. Matter of fact, in Mansion, the last time I was there, you know those pipes on the street where back in the day, if you don't have plumbing, you go and get your bucket of water from the pipe. I saw a monkey open the pipe and actually drink water from the pipe. And when he saw
monkey
me,
see monkey do.
Right. So when he see me, I run to like I'm going to go, try to get him to run from the pipe. And the monkey just stand right there and say, "Look, I'm living here. You just."
No, since we're on the monkey point some more, and I would love to give the listeners a cliffhanger, but there was about pre-COVID a case where a lady reported to the police that a monkey beat her. Monkey, so she went and made a claim to the police that some monkeys attack her, and the police officers just pretty much laughed at her. Because imagine you going and tell someone that a monkey, a dog, or whatever attacked you, or beat you. No, well, the monkeys in that case, based on when you look into the story, it wasn't a case where they attacked her voluntarily, but it was a case where apparently her children was approaching the monkeys aggressively, and the monkeys had an option of to fight or flight, and they decided to return fire, if I'm to put it like that. So it is encouraged not to approach them from such manner. It's encouraged not to do that. They are friendly beings, and the truth is they are afraid of you just as much as you may be afraid of them, and they're also as curious just as much as you are curious of them. But to approach them to the point of trying to trace them away or what's not, that's not encouraged.
Well,
that's not encouraged.
And I could relate to what you just said too. I have experienced that. Back in the old days, there's a lady who used to go from I think she from the Mansion Village. She used to go up in the mountain early. They say early birds get the best worm. Where she used to go and pick up all the mangoes. And one morning she went up, and the monkey, she was actually taking away the food that the monkey was going to eat, because she getting all the mangoes, and the monkeys them attack her. So what you just mentioned, I could relate to that. And the cops, again, they're probably young cops, but back in the day, the Tabernacle Police Station would have listened to the situation where the monkey attacked the lady. And like you mentioned, if you attack them or if you take their food, they're going to attack you. And I have experienced that. Okay, let's move on. The future of tourism in St. Kitts. Where do you see in the next, let's say 5 years? Where do you see tourism?
Where do I see tourism in St. Kitts in 5 years? 5 years would be a little over a year of this present government. And if the present government continues the rate of which they are going, then more incoming airlines, like this year alone, and we have had the fall of our regional airline because of COVID, during COVID, and during the same time of which Liat kind of took a downturn. In fact, at the moment, Liat has suspended all flights presently. And as of yesterday, I think it was. On the flip side of that, we also saw the rise of many airlines. And so we have had 3 new airlines that now come to our federation during this year alone, which includes JetBlue direct flights to New York. And that's 3 times a week. We have other Caribbean airlines. We have Inter-Caribbean and a few others. We have flights that take us to St. Martin, right next to us, twice per day. We are now starting to have more ferries connecting the islands. From St. Kitts, we are so strategically located that you can find roughly 9 islands surrounding us.
Yes,
from looking down from St. Kitts, you can see Nevis, Montserrat, Antigua and Barbuda. And if we argumentatively say, we can say Redonda. But inhabited 4 islands looking down from St. Kitts. Looking up, as in north, we can then see Saint Eustacia, Sabre, Saint Bats, and Saint Martin, just some 53 miles away from us, and Anguilla. So 9 islands from around us, from just standing at St. Kitts. So the future of tourism in St. Kitts can become a hub, given that we are so strategically located. Future of tourism in St. Kitts, I do believe, can become more stayovers, and we can adopt a similar concept of St. Bats. Future of tourism in St. Kitts can be that one day we can have ships leaving St. Kitts. And these are me going on a limb and being an active tourism ambassador at this point, sharing. These are some of the things that I see can become a future of tourism in St. Kitts. And they are not audacious goals. They are in reach and they are possible. Future of tourism in St. Kitts can be more eco-tourism. Future of tourism in St. Kitts can be to the point of which we have a second language, as in a second official language, such like Spanish or whatever. Future of tourism in St. Kitts can be when the cruise ship comes to St. Kitts, we as the locals can also go and take a tour on the ship. And these are all in reach. I do hope that the respective ministries can maximize and will maximize. But at the moment, at the rate of which the present minister seems to be doing her thing, and the immediate former minister, and at the rate of which, if they are to both partner and continue pushing, future of tourism in St. Kitts, it's bright. Prior to COVID, we had 1 million cruise passengers in 2018 and 2019 consecutively. So if we do get back into such, we can see that 1 million cruise passengers coming back in no time. We now have a second cruise pier as of 2018, and during COVID, all of that were able to go in full motion, and therefore it welcomes more. Today, as we speak, and while we are on here, I heard one of the cruise ships blowing their horns a while ago. We have 3 cruise ships presently in port as we speak. And so future of tourism in St. Kitts can be far beyond just cruise, but stay over sport tourism, because we are big on cricket. For the Americans, cricket is baseball step sister or step brother. Yes. And you have football, and football would be soccer for you. We have respective track and fields, we are preparing for Olympics. So sport tourism is a big deal, or can become a big deal here. You have ecotourism and destination tourism, as in people eloping and all those things. Recently, someone proposed to their partner on the top of the volcano. So all of that, and I would love to officiate someone's wedding at the top of the volcano. Just let me know in advance. I would go and get my license. I would love to do that. But that's the future of tourism in my perspective here in St. Kitts and Nevis. St. Kitts has a more cruise-based, Nevis has a more destination-based tourism.
Wow. Well said. I guess St. Lucia is the honeymoon capital of the Caribbean. So if St. Lucia see you guys sneaking up there and trying to get the honeymoon's business, they'll come back after you very strong. So
no problem at all. The friendly competition is welcomed.
It's welcome.
I do believe it's welcome. It helps you to develop and advance yourself more.
Yeah.
Every time I travel, I see something that I can come back and enhance my tours. Or other opportunities that I can get into once I do have the necessary partnership. So, yeah.
Okay, final question on this segment. How can a tourist, or what can a tourist do to help sustain and the growth of development in tourists in St. Kitts? In other words, what can a tourist do? Because if you got a lot of tourists coming to a place, sooner or later, the place, if it's not well kept, or if it's not sustained or maintained, it gets run down and people start moving on to different locations. So how can how can you help? How can you educate those tourists about making sure that when they come, they help maintain and keep St. Kitts good?
Yes. So to your question, and I think this is a good way to wrap it up. And on my previous point, I mentioned that when I travel, I look at ways of which I can come back and add an extra tour and enhance one of my tours or what's not, or another business opportunity that I can do once I have the necessary investment. So investment is one. We have citizenship by investment. However, though, if some of those said citizens that got their citizenship via investment were to say, you know what, let me go back and Janeel look like he has potential. Let me connect with Janeel and we can expand tourism some more. Let me connect with IC and we can expand tourism some more in a more sustainable manner. And sure, because even with that, our present government is speaking a lot on sustainable island state. And with such, it means sustainability is reality, it's expensive. Maintenance is a big deal. What I always tell tourists when I'm on my trip, I have a garbage disposal in my vehicles, and we always seize the opportunity to go at various bins and dispose our items. At all of our tour sites, and you definitely have to come and visit. It's very clean. I must say our sites are clean. Now, of course, commuting to some of these sites, you may commute past a mechanic and what's not, and that's a whole different discussion. However, though, we take pride in that. I think it was roughly about 2012 or so, maybe it might be like 2011, where the government of the day started something called Park and Beaches Unit. Okay. And that was just pretty much persons that were on the side of the road that had no job. Yeah. And they literally took them off the road from liming, gave them a machete, a weed heater and what's not, and put them back on the road to clean. So those persons they're all grouped based on their community, based on where you live. And I think no one can take care of your community as good as you. That's right. If I am working Park and Beaches, I am working within my community. So you get the chance to landscape the island main road in your community and remove the garbage that is on the surrounding area. We are becoming big on becoming plastic free. And in fact, Saturday coming, they are having an infocade collecting plastics from across the island. On a government level, on a community level, we also have various cleanups. And this weekend, I should be attending a cleanup for that sort as well. But from a tourist perspective, when I go out on a hike, I always encourage the guests to take nothing, and so leave footprints and take photos. So I always encourage you, not even a palm tree, don't break it, don't go with it. Right. I always have bags and so on I have in the vehicle and on the trail that I take up other bottles that I may see or what's not. So those are things that we usually do to remain sustainable. But one of my biggest advice when it comes to sustainability, beside cleaning and what's not, would be is invest. If you may be coming from a country that is more sustainable than ours, per se, or you may have more sustainable practices than ours. Mm-hmm. If you wish, connect with a taxi driver, connect with an individual, and partner, invest in ways of which we can make our product a cleaner and brighter one. But definitely, I would tell you, St. Kitts and Nevis, from a tourism perspective, we clean. I'm very clean.
Okay, that's good. I was talking to one of the tour guides in St. Martin. His name is Ricardo, and St. Martin is the St. Martin, and St. Martin is the French and the Dutch. So what he do is he cover both sides, and he have a van. In his van, he have a cooler where he have drinks. He have fruit punch. He got Heineken. He got a beer. He got a soft drink. So, and then he have the trash bin. So as he drive from the Dutch, go to the French and back, he have drinks and sometimes even a sandwich to make sure that they're well fed and having fun. So it's something like what you said, and that's another reason why I want to bring this. Maybe once a month we have a group chat and bring someone in and explain the experience. Let the young teach the old about the computer and the internet, and let the old teach the young about some of the stuff that they're accustomed to, and then bring some educational stuff into the mix and into the group. That's part of my plan with this group chat. How much you got? How much more time you got? Remember,
I see you have a travel tip coming up. I can probably speak like another 15 or so minutes.
Okay.
I think we're nearing the end, anyways, based on.
Yeah, I just got. Actually, I'm gonna skip one section because most of it you already covered. So
we can do a speed round. I think one of the sections that you have, it can become a speed round.
Yeah, well, the one section with there was some question, but we already covered them in somewhat.
Okay, great.
So we're gonna go into some fun stuff right now about the island. Let's talk about the dish. What's the dish? Every Sunday, like I think it's in Antigua. In Antigua, they have a Sunday breakfast dish. They call it a big man breakfast, and they give you your egg, your boiled egg, your butter bread. So go ahead.
I think I can jump into it. I have experienced Antigua's breakfast.
Big breakfast.
More from the local perspective, where you get the spinach and everything else.
Yes.
I must say that. I don't think St. Kitts we have an official breakfast. However, we have an official dish, which will be coconut dumpling with spicy plantain and breadfruit and a few other stuff, including for sure saltfish. So that would be, I'm actually seeing it on your screen. So that would be picture on the left. The picture on the left will be our local dish. Picture one. And that's our national dish.
The one on the right is what?
The one on the right, I'm not seeing it clearly, but it looks to me more like corn and maybe mutton or something of that sort. But the one on the left, for the most part, looks like our national dish. For the most part, we have very different variations because it's something that we eat usually during the Easter time, but you can get it anywhere. However, the main products would be coconut dumpling and spicy plantain. You have the respective breadfruit and of course saltfish, and you have that in the national dish. Okay. So that answers your food question.
Yes. So when is the best time to visit St. Kitts?
Best time to visit St. Kitts, I would still go in December. So I would still go back to December. Unless you are looking for more of a relaxation, then I would still go back for December.
Okay, let's talk about sports. What's you guys' number one sport? And also, is it flag football? Is it catching on down there?
Number one sport would be cricket. And follow up by football, or argumentatively one may say football. But cricket would be the number one, especially because we have Caribbean Premier League and a few other leagues that tend to come here. So if one wants cricket, then they can also visit during August. Then that's when we have the various leagues across the Caribbean. Flag football, no, that's not a thing. It's not a thing here. We just have the typical football that Americans call soccer.
Is it flag football in any other islands? Because that's something I'm looking for, and that's something.
To my knowledge of flag football, I don't think it is something that is going across the Caribbean. I may stand corrected, but to my knowledge of what is flag football, I don't think it is something around the Caribbean that much.
You think it will catch on? Flag football?
Definitely. The Caribbean, we are a people that goes with the flow.
Okay.
In fact, because we have such a diverse community, we have a Spanish community, and the Spanish folks recently transformed a section of a football field and turned it into a baseball. So there's a section of a football field right in the town that has a baseball section. So technically, it is the only area of the island that have baseball. There are other Caribbean islands that have a full baseball field. So we understand diversity, and we understand the importance of expanding and making sure that we are adjustable to an extent, if that's for lack of better words.
Yes, and the flag football, I would love to participate, be involved in it. And I think the Bahamas are kind of playing. So if you see a flag football coming to these different islands, then you IC Caribbean might be behind a bit. So
definitely, I encourage you to pursue events like those. And definitely, once you're coming into St. Kitts, this is where I switch from tour guide and switch to a businessman or entrepreneur and say, let's partner. And this is where I start talking dollars.
Yes,
but let's partner.
International, like
I must also mention, because we have offshore universities, such like Ross University and Windsor and so on. Those are things that are slowly being introduced.
Okay.
So you definitely will have such audience, because there's always an audience of American students or African students that are always here on island all year round, even in COVID. So yes, it is a thing.
Okay.
Next question.
Yeah, that's something I would really love to get into. It's very big, and the US football, the US NFL is very big in it, and they're dishing out money and plus some international. I think is the fastest growing sports in trending for this year. So watch, somebody's gonna come with an idea, but I would love to be a part of it, maybe just to promote it until I could invest in it. But that's something I will look into. Currency. If someone coming to St. Kitts, what kind of money should they bring?
Our currency is Eastern Caribbean dollar, and the code will be EXD, and that's Eastern Caribbean. It is valued 2.70 to 1 US, and it has been pegged to the US for 40 consecutive years. So as our country now has just gone into a new generation of 40 years of independence. We became independent in 1983. We have had our Eastern Caribbean dollar and our Eastern Central Bank for 40 years. It is the most stable currency in the Caribbean. It is not the strongest, but it is the most stable currency in the Caribbean. We do also welcome the US dollar as well. But I usually tell guests, if you are still over guests, just change out some of your money into EC. And you do that, because the further you go in the countryside, the less you are likely to use US. However, it is welcomed. US is not our main currency, EC is, but it is welcomed. We also do accept the euro and or the pound, but most of the time that's only done via a taxi driver or someone of that sort, because we would go and change it. On the streets, no, it's US or EC, and EC being the actual official currency.
Wow, well said. Religion. What is your dominant religion there in the islands?
From observation, even go back to our laws, as we came from Britain as colonial folks, and Christianity is still the dominant religion here in St. Kitts.
Okay, if I'm coming from Chicago to St. Kitts, tell me about the transportation system. What side of the street you recommend to drive on, and how can they get?
Recommend. I will not use the word recommend. I will say required or mandated. You are mandated to drive on the left side.
Okay.
You are not recommended to drive on the left side. You are mandated. Because I have seen of recent times where people drive our roundabouts or traffic circles on the opposite side. And most of the time, we just simply move out the way and we assume that it is a tourist.
Okay.
How we are that friendly. We assume it's a tourist and we move. We don't honk our horn and cuss you out and be like, what are you doing? We just be like, there's a song, so only St. Christopher, and we just say, only St. Christopher, and we just continue moving. So you are mandated to drive on the left-hand side. Our vehicles do have the wheel on the right-hand side. So we have Japanese vehicles, and we drive on the left because we are British-based.
Okay, so what would a tourist need to rent a car and to drive to get around? What
if you are Caribbean tourists, And most of the time, if you are coming from CARICOM, then you don't need anything beside your actual driver's license for your country. So CARICOM would have a certain extent. That's Caribbean Community. OECS would be another, those that use our currency. But if you are coming from the US, then you would need a temporary driver's license. And with your valid license from your country, you would need such. And while you are here, it's like $10 US also. And it's valid, I think it's like 3 months in some cases. And that's about it, really. And that's about it.
What if I'm coming from Cuba?
There's no restriction. We have a good bilateral relationship with St. Kitts and Cuba, actually. And most of our doctors do go to Cuba to study. So, and therefore they learn their Spanish. And so, if I may say, Buenos tardes, and going out to all the respective Cubans or doctors or what's not. So most of them do come from Cuba.
Wow, you know, I didn't know you speak Spanish because
I no hablo español, but yo aprendo hablo español. And yo, what can I say? Yo comprendo no mucho español. In other words, I don't know much Spanish, but I'm learning. Yeah. I'm trying my best to stand out, because reality is, even though English may be a national language around the world, the truth be told, there are thousands of languages in the world. To be monolingual, to me, it's a step behind, and we definitely need to become multilingual as much as possible. So if I can learn other languages, I've been to Africa, so I know a little Swahili and work my way out, then sure. But definitely at the moment, English is still my main language. And while I try my best to better myself in, for now, Spanish.
Man, that well said, because I'm going to give you say like investment. How about, remember I told you this guy from St. Martin, he had 25 passengers coming into St. Thomas. And I was speaking with some tour guys there, and the lady specifically said, if you have a Spanish speaking tour guys, I would prefer that one. So because he speaks Spanish, he get the job, and the job is about $4,000, $4,000 US dollars.
Yes, you must know, as I say, being monolingual is a step back. I know we all pride ourselves in speaking English fluently, but English cannot and should not be your only language. Yes. It took me almost 32 years to realize that. However, though, it cannot and it should not be your only language. From being in the tour industry, there are many ships that, for example, when Carnival were departing from Puerto Rico, most of the Puerto Ricans would have come on those daily ships, those weekly ships. And when someone come and they start going, and you don't know what they're saying, you tend to lose that job by someone who migrated to St. Kitts, and that person have since started to a company. Same as we have friendship like MSC. MSC is a friendship that comes from Guadeloupe. And I've realized that most French persons refuse to learn any other language. So as most of the world is learning English, French refuse to learn English or refuse to speak English. So then you would find them coming, and if you do not know fancy, then you're in a bad state. And sometimes it's as simple as knowing the basic by saying Je m'appelle Janeel Boon, or being able to maneuver those simple stuff, and being able to just simply say that you do not speak Spanish, French, or German. Because we do have German ships as well. I realized based on some of my bookings this year, most of them are Germans. So I'm now trying to learn to be able to say Guten Tag and Guten Morgen and learn the greetings for now, and then work my way from there. You definitely need a foreign language in tourism industry.
Yes, and speaking of that, I could relate to what you just said there, because I have been trying to get a French tour guide and our group team, and I'll send out an English email and I get back a French.
Correct, because French persons, what I've realized, French refuse to speak English.
Yes.
Because note to self that there are English and French are two different kingdoms. You have British Kingdom and France. How dare you force me to speak English when my kingdom is France?
It's France.
So you have that happen. And because of such, if you were to visit Guadeloupe and so on, you definitely need to learn some level of French. Otherwise, the people will ignore you. Some of them do know English, you know, but they are likely to ignore you.
Yes, because they think that if you come into their country, you should learn that little, like you said,
correct. And so definitely, I encourage everyone who is in the tour industry and beyond tour industry, because I tell my nephews and nieces, start learning some other language now that you are young.
Yes.
But definitely in the tour industry, you need to be able to know it good enough it gives you that extra plug when you're listed on a website and they ask how many languages you know, and you can now have more than one.
Yes.
It gives that extra plug. I see someone had made a comment, say best tip about being multilingual. I'm passionate about learning. So.
And to continue with this French, we was in France in 2018. And like you mentioned, they don't want, we didn't know no French, and they didn't care to give us English. So we had to use an app on the phone.
Right. That takes away from your experience.
Yes. So the French, and again, I'm experienced again because I really want to get someone from Guadeloupe or Martinique and the team. And I'll send out the French, I'll send out the English, and I'll get back the French. And one guy connect, but he was kind of busy, but I'm still working it. But I could relate to what you just said about they do not care to speak this English. All right, finally, this was a joy, man. I'm gonna take a quick break and then we're gonna come back and close.
We did what, 2 hours thus far? Oh wow!
Yeah, I was looking at my cell phone here. Really appreciate the knowledge, the wisdom, and all the connection, man. Let's take a quick break and then we're gonna wrap this thing up. Be right back.
Hi there, I am Janeel Boon, the owner of Jenny's Adventure.
Flying over New York, take his people can done. Florida, Canada, big up every kitty shot. When we fly over England, Europe, me have fun can done. But everybody know, ain't no place like home. Me no know about you, but me love think it's bad. Me no know what them a talk about. It's mad. Whenever we're in the world have problems, everywhere need God. Tell them easy no man. Formulas think it's bad. Me don't know about you, but me love think it's bad. Me don't know what them a talk about. When them say think it's mad. Whenever we're in the world have problems, everywhere need God. Tell them easy no man. Formulas think it's bad. Full time if we big up me own,
Hello everybody, this is Janeel and we are at the top of Mount Liamiga volcano in St. Kitts. We just like 3,000 feet.
Big up every kitty shot. When we fly over England.
All right, welcome back to our final segment with our guest, Janeel Boon from St. Kitts. It was a joy having you. I really enjoy. I also learned a lot of stuff from you, including monkeys not the national board of Anyway, again, is there anything that you like to say to the team that I didn't ask? Anything that you would like to say to the audience?
Wow, we can still go on and on and on.
Right.
I think we have done 2 hours and a quarter. And what I would say, the viewing public, give St. Kitts a try. Put St. Kitts on your vacation bucket list and come on down to St. Kitts and Nevis, because we are 2 islands that make a federation. So I don't dare say St. Kitts alone, even though you had a tour guide from Nevis. We do partner together. Come on down to St. Kitts and Nevis and be sure to connect with me so we can make that possible. And I would definitely give you a local experience. And we may not eat monkey. However, if you require, then we can do that. But we have a local experience. You get to see some of the places of which I grew up, Some of the places that I can remember running around in my boxer, going to look mango or going to the river or what's not. We can show the difference in cultural differences, climate differences, and what's not. I do, and not in no effort of blowing my own horn, but I do take pride in learning my country. I am just 31 years old. Don't mind my no shave November look. Um, I'm just 31 years old, and I do take time to make sure that I learn my country then and now, and what the possibilities of what we can become and what's not. And so I do hope that this was a very informative session, and I extend the invitation to you to come and visit us. Definitely come and visit us. Contact me before, contact IC before, so we can plan the best time of your coming, and let me take care of your entire trip. That's
All
about
right,
it.
man. I really appreciate having you. I learn a lot from you. Again, I wanted to say thank you and thank you for coming in. I know I might have taken away some $2 from you there, but I see
No,
Caribbean.
well, you did not take away $2. You did not. I did not do tour today because I was doing radio.
Okay.
And because I'm doing a geography class, I opted to not do tours on Thursdays for this season. So sometimes you do have to make sacrifices, temporary sacrifices for long-term gain. And I also just sacrificed my class by being on this on this call. I have another 30 minutes or so of that class. More than likely, I would probably get the notes.
Okay.
But I do believe sometimes the sacrifices you make, you should make them count.
Yes, I really appreciate you having on the show, man. I'd like to give you thanks, and I also like to give thanks to the team back there in Pakistan, which is
Definitely.
probably about after 2
Thank you
o'clock
for
there.
having
So
me.
we want to give them
Yes.
thanks. And finally, our upcoming show next week, November 18th, we move into the islands of the Turks and Caicos.
Nice.
Max. Max is coming up on the show. He rents golf cart and ATV. So we're gonna have a big show with him next week. So again, joining us next week on the 18th at 12 p.m. We're gonna be in the Turks and Caicos. That's the home of the Inter-Caribbean headquarters there too.
Yes.
So yeah,
yes.
might jump on a plane and come visit you.
If you are going to Turks and Caicos, please take me with you, sir. I look forward to go to that archipelago. So let's make it happen.
All right,
make it happen.
Enjoy the rest of your day. And from now, thank you for joining us, and peace out from the IC Caribbean podcast. Bye bye.
Have a wonderful one, guys. Thanks for having me.